In the late 1980s, a group of parents got together in Vancouver, Canada to discuss the future of their children. This is not such an unusual event, but these parents were bound by a unique circumstance. All of their children had a severe disability and was likely going to be dependent on their parents or on another individual for the rest of their lives. And because of the care that the parents had put to them, they were likely going to outlive their parents. So these parents were worried because they thought that they had fought their entire lives to give these children the resources that they needed in order to live a good life. But they were scared that when they died, there would be no one left to take care of their children, and their children would be placed in institutions and left alone and unprotected from the loneliness that their parents feared the most. The parents got together bound by their common concern for their children, and they tried to figure out how to muster the resources that they needed in order to make sure that their children continued to have a good life even after they died. And they didn't get very far with this problem initially because they realized that in order to figure out how to solve the problem, they needed to come to a better understanding of what constituted a good life for a child with a disability. It took them 3 years of deep inquiry in order to figure this out. And at the end of these 3 years, here's the list that they generated. A good life is constituted by family and friends, financial security, a home that is a sanctuary and not a warehouse, the ability to have one's wishes and choices respected, and they added a fifth after a few years, the ability to make a contribution to society. I invite you to take a moment and think about this list and to consider how it compares to your own idea of what constitutes a good life for you. Is it all that different? In 1989, these parents formed an organization called PLAN, which stands for Planned Lifetime Advocacy Network. The vision of this program, this organization, was to be able to allow all individuals with disabilities to have access to a good life, which was constituted by those 5 elements that you were just thinking about. And the organization decided to try and muster the resources that they needed in order to bring those 5 elements into the realities of the lives of their children and all children with disabilities. And as they worked towards this goal, the organization slowly came to a breakthrough realization. All 5 of those elements that constituted a good life could be derived from the same single source: meaningful personal relationships. When the life of an individual with a disability is filled with meaningful personal relationships, as a natural consequence of that, those 5 elements of a good life just fall into place. They came across the profound realization that relationships don't lead to quality of life. Relationships are quality of life. And so PLAN has built its entire mission around this realization. They aim to create networks of loving relationships with the child at the center, and they hire a facilitator to come in and look for existing relationships and to bring them and coach them into full flower, and then to create new relationships wherever possible. This has led to a network of over 100 relationships within 5 years of their starting, and they started in 1989. And to everyone's surprise, it not only improved the quality of life of the child at the center of the network, but it also improved the quality of life of everyone else who is engaged in that network. A lot of you in the audience might be thinking, so that's a very nice story, but what does that have to do with me? I think that we have profound lessons that we can learn from the lives of people with disabilities. In our life, in high school, in university, today at this conference, we're often told we need to find our passion, we need to pursue our purpose, and I think these are excellent messages. But there's a danger that's inherent if we take this to the extreme. There's a cost that we pay if we sacrifice too much of our lives in pursuit of success. As human beings, we're naturally social creatures. Research has shown time and again that closeness and intimacy with others is essential for our health and well-being. When we don't engage in relationships with others, we become victims of loneliness, which is a phenomenon that's been increasing significantly in Western countries over the past few decades. Now, as people who can perform and achieve, like everyone in this audience, often we seek to cover up loneliness by looking for success and validation from other people. We do things that other people think are good for us. We do things to seek the recognition of others. It's only when those other things fall away that we become aware of our own loneliness. In the words of Jean Vanier, when people are physically well, performing creatively, successful in their lives, loneliness seems absent. But I believe that loneliness is something essential to human nature. It can only be covered over. It can never actually go away. Loneliness is part of being human because there's nothing in existence that can completely fulfill the needs of the human heart. Individuals with disabilities don't have the luxury of covering up loneliness with accomplishments and success. They have to find meaning for their lives in some other way. And so I think that we have profound lessons to learn from them, because sooner or later we will fall sick. We will fail in our pursuits. We will fail in a relationship. We will do things that cause ourselves to lose trust in ourselves and trust in other people. And depending on the path in life that we've taken to get to these moments can cause all of the meaning and the value to fall out of our life. The point of the story of PLAN, the PLAN organization, is that creating communities of meaningful personal relationships is what gives our lives meaning and value. It's essential not just for people with disabilities in order to create a good life. Meaningful personal relationships are necessary for everyone in order to create a good life. I strongly believe in this idea of creating communities of loving relationships wherever you go. There's a lot of great resources out there on the internet, lots of books that talk about how to create intentional communities, but I believe that one of the best teachers is experience. So I would like to take this opportunity to share 3 of my experiences with you where I've been so blessed to be able to be part of communities of loving relationships. The first comes from my Ph.D. As Maureen introduced me, I have my Ph.D. from the University of Toronto, and I'm a specialist in biomedical engineering and in rehabilitation sciences. What I want you to take away from this experience, the story that I'm going to tell you, is the idea of how to create interaction with other people and the importance of creating interaction with other people. I spent 5 years at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital, which is Canada's largest pediatric rehabilitation hospital. There, most of my attention was focused on complex continuing care, which was the home of about 20 children with very severe and complex disabilities. A lot of them couldn't move, a lot of them couldn't speak, and a lot of them had no way of interacting with the world, even though they were aware of everything that was going on around them. The parents, the caregivers, all of the people who interacted with them were very respectful of these children's lives, but they kept on speaking of how frustrated they were that they weren't able to communicate with these children. Caregivers would say, I don't know what they want. I don't know what they're thinking. Parents would say, do they know that I'm here? Do they know that I love them? At the time, I was working on investigating autonomic nervous system signals. Your autonomic nervous system is the nervous system that controls your involuntary responses. Specifically, I was looking at 4 signals: electrodermal activity, which is the measure of the amount of sweat in your skin temperature, your heart rate, and your respiration rate. And all 4 of these signals are signals that change according to your emotions and your responses to your internal and your external environment. I wondered in my PhD, and I spent my PhD investigating this question, whether we could use the autonomic nervous system signals of children with severe disabilities to create an interaction with the world. Can we take these responses that exist in their body and use them to create interaction? I was working with a fabulous team of scientists at the end of my PhD, Patricia McKeever, Shauna Kingsnorth, and Elaine Bittis, and we thought that it would be great if we could take these signals and give them an emotional manifestation. So we decided to take the signals of the body and turn them into music. What would it be like if you walked into a room with a child and you heard the musical response to your presence? What would it mean to a parent if they interacted and touched their child and they could hear that the child recognized that they were there? We're still in the middle of conducting this study. We're just analyzing it and writing it up, so I don't have definite conclusions for you. But anecdotally, caregivers will come up to us, parents will come up to us, and they'll tell us what a profound difference this makes. being able to create interaction between someone deepens your relationship. It allows you to connect with them in ways that you couldn't otherwise. Now, not everyone that we meet is going to be as different as the people that we can see in complex continuing care. But this idea of being able to create connection, being able to create a way of interacting, no matter how different that person is really important, because those interactions are the foundations of the relationships that build community and allow you to see a child's smile, a child's response to someone else's emotion. The second experience that I want to share with you comes from my wedding, and I want you to think about, while I'm telling the story, I want you to think about the elements that are necessary in order to create a real interaction. I got married just under 3 months ago to my best friend of 10 years in a resort up in Huntsville, Ontario. And when my husband proposed and we were first starting to think about the idea of getting married and the wedding, we thought, well, neither of us is really comfortable in front of crowds. We're both really introverts. Maybe we should just have a small, intimate ceremony with 1 or 2 witnesses, and that would be good for us. And then, as we talked through the consequences of this, we realized that, weddings are really good places to create community. And, we really do want a community of love around us to see us through this major transition in our life. But if we were going to create community around this event of our wedding, we needed to be able to work at it. We needed to be able to do something to deliberately create this community. And so we asked our guests to participate in our wedding. We didn't tell them what we needed them to do. We asked them, and we were open to them to put themselves into our wedding. We gave them tasks. We need some music. We need a cake. And we gave them 5 criteria. We wanted our wedding to be elegant, inclusive, and fun. We wanted it to create love, and we wanted it to inspire love. And we were open to whatever change, whatever our guests, our witnesses wanted to bring to that day, to our day. Did this mean that on my wedding day I didn't know what to expect on certain occasions? Yes. Did it mean that there were some surprises? Absolutely. But the gift of being open to being changed by the individuals around you, the gift of being able to create a 2-way interaction, a real interaction that goes both ways, meant that there was a community of loving relationship around me that witnessed the start of my marriage, and that is something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Interaction's a 2-way street. You have to be open to being changed. The last experience that I want to share with you comes from a summer program that I think that some of you must have heard of, that I've been so blessed to be involved with for the past 8 years. It's called Shad Valley. And the reason I'm sharing this experience with you is because I want you guys to think about how to create places of belonging. Shad Valley is a summer program that runs in 10 university campuses across Canada. I work at the University of Waterloo, and we bring 48 high school students onto campus to live together for the month of July. We get them to do a crazy open-ended design project, and we throw experiences from rock climbing to camping at them. It's a wonderful, life-changing experience for many teenagers. And one of the things that distinguishes Shad from a lot of other enrichment programs is that we're very, very intentional about building community. When the Shads come, from the very first day, we tell them, we expect you to become a community of 48 people. Not a community of 2, not a community of 47, but a community of 48. We want this place to be inclusive, and we want to create a place of belonging for everyone. And one of the ways that we do this is we ask the Shads to deliberately try and find value in everyone else around them. One of the best examples of this is in a simple game of ultimate frisbee. We've got people who don't even own running shoes on the field playing with varsity athletes. You can see how this would be challenging to have a good game. But we ask everyone to contribute what they can and to value the contributions of others. So one of the configurations that works really well is when someone who has never touched a Frisbee before is the one who throws the Frisbee into the air, and the varsity athlete is on the other side ready to catch it, because then the varsity athlete can run, dive, often make a spectacular catch, and the contributions of both people who are on this team become valued. It creates a place of belonging when you are able to recognize that everyone has intrinsic value. And if you look for it and bring it out in other people, this is one of the powerful ways of creating community. There are so many lifelong friendships that have come out of Shad. And so, like so many speakers today, I want to leave you with a challenge. This day has been and continues to be a wonderful showcase of so much energy and talent and passion. I think that this energy will likely change the way that we work going out of this day, and will bring us to wonderful adventures and really interesting possibilities and opportunities in the future. So I challenge you to take advantage of these opportunities that come your way, take advantage of the successes that you will have, but along that way, make sure that you keep an eye out and deliberately cultivate those personal relationships in your life. Recognize that not everyone is the same as you, and look for ways. They don't necessarily have to be as complicated as biomusic, but look for ways of creating interaction with other people, because that's the foundation of building a relationship. Recognize that true interaction is a two-way street. If you're going to change other people, you have to be open to being changed as well in return in order to have a true interaction. And third, create places of community and belonging by recognizing that every person has intrinsic value. I challenge you to take advantage of the successes and opportunities that come your way, but I challenge you simultaneously to deliberately build communities and deliberately build meaning and value into your life. Thank you.